What you're looking at is the most ruthless prison on earth, CECOT. Home to 40,000 of the world's most dangerous criminals, this fortress was built to be inescapable. No sunlight, no visitors, no hope. Once you enter, you never leave. But is this the ultimate solution to gang violence or a terrifying experiment in mass incarceration? Today, we take you inside El Salvador's mega prison, the harshest lockup ever built. Stick around, because what you're about to witness will send shivers down your spine. The gateway to El Salvador's mega prison. At the edge of a secluded expanse in El Salvador stands a structure of intimidating scale and design. Officially known as the Terrorism Confinement Center, or CECOT, it has earned global infamy as the world's most brutal lockup. This mega prison looms like a fortified citadel, ringed by towering concrete walls crowned with razor wire. Guards patrol every corner with unblinking focus, and the hum of surveillance cameras fills the still air. For the tens of thousands of inmates housed here, most of them suspected or convicted gang members, this is not just a prison. It is a place where hope and fear blend into a single perpetual sentence. El Salvador is a country of about 6 million people, yet it has constructed a prison with a capacity of 40,000 inmates. The facility's creation mirrors an urgent response to decades of violent crime, where streets were plagued by gangs such as MS-13 and Barrio 18. For years, citizens lived in constant dread, paying extortion fees to gang members and witnessing brutal turf wars. In early 2022, President Nayib Bukele's administration implemented a sweeping crackdown that led to mass arrests, over 70,000 people in just 16 months. This new fortress is a direct product of that crackdown. When inmates arrive by bus, they are bound in heavy shackles and flanked by guards carrying assault rifles. The moment they enter, life as they knew it ceases. But before we take you inside this fortress of no return, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Unlike the inmates here, you're free to leave anytime, but why would you? We've got the craziest, most jaw-dropping stories coming your way. Gangs and the rise of brutality. To understand why El Salvador felt compelled to construct what might be the largest prison on earth, one must look back at the history of gang violence in the region. MS-13 and Barrio 18, sometimes simply called Las Pandillas, took root in the impoverished neighborhoods of El Salvador during the early 1990s. Many founding members had been deported from the United States, bringing back organizational structures honed on U.S. streets. Once on Salvadoran soil, they quickly spread, recruiting teenagers and enforcing their reign through terror. El Salvador's small geography made it easy for gangs to seize control of entire districts. Within a few short years, many neighborhoods existed under unofficial gang rule. Residents were forced to pay regular rent or extortion money just to keep their homes and businesses intact. Anyone who resisted could face violent retribution, kidnappings, assaults, or worse. By 2015, El Salvador had one of the world's highest murder rates, peaking at around 104 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. Past governments attempted to negotiate truces or implement rehabilitative programs, but these moves rarely produced lasting peace. The short-lived truces often collapsed into renewed cycles of violence, leaving ordinary Salvadorans feeling abandoned and helpless. Then came President Nayib Bukele, who rose to power on a promise of drastic change, pledging to protect citizens by eradicating the gangs once and for all. It was a populist message that resonated deeply with the public. In March 2022, after a string of high-profile killings, the president declared a state of emergency, granting law enforcement sweeping powers of arrest. Massive police and military raids followed, leading to tens of thousands of detentions. Those arrested were swiftly transferred to prisons across the country, culminating in the inauguration of CECOT. President Nayib Bukele's master plan. Bukele's massive project to combat gangs rests on a straightforward premise: remove the criminals from the streets, lock them up en masse, and use the harshest conditions imaginable to discourage any future wrongdoing. This plan extends well beyond the construction of CECOT. It includes enhanced surveillance across urban centers, a vast network of informants, and laws that allow for rapid prosecution of anyone suspected of gang affiliation. Critics, however, note the risk of innocent people getting caught in the dragnet. Stories abound of individuals with no criminal history suddenly finding themselves behind bars, their families unaware of their whereabouts. Under the state of emergency, constitutional rights such as the presumption of innocence and the right to legal counsel can be limited or postponed. Human rights organizations have condemned what they see as overreach, but the government maintains that extreme times call for extreme measures. In the eyes of many Salvadorans, the ends justify the means. They prioritize safer streets over potential miscarriages of justice. At the center of this grand plan stands CECOT. Built on 410 acres of land, the facility houses 8 separate modules enclosed by towering walls. The perimeter is secured by an electric fence carrying thousands of volts. Floodlights illuminate the compounds day and night, while 19 watchtowers ensure that not a single movement goes unnoticed. A sophisticated jammer system blocks cellular signals within 2 kilometers, cutting inmates off from any form of digital communication. Bukele's message to the gangs is unequivocal. If you choose a life of crime, you will end up here, isolated from society forever. A day inside the CECOT. Picture an endless grid of bunk beds crammed into cells with bare concrete floors. The air is thick with heat, sweat, and the omnipresent odor of unwashed bodies. Each cell can hold up to 80 inmates, though at times the number soars to over 100. There is no privacy, no quiet corners, and virtually no belongings allowed beyond a thin uniform and a single bucket for bathing and washing clothes. Guards patrol each block in military-style formation, their faces often concealed to protect their identities. Daily life at CECOT follows a strict routine, both for the prison staff and the inmates. At dawn, guards conduct a head count, systematically scanning each cell block. Breakfast arrives on trays slid through metal slots. There's no communal dining hall, just silent transactions between guard and inmate. After breakfast, inmates are ordered to perform maintenance tasks like cleaning floors or washing the communal toilet. This labor is done under constant watch. Any sign of disobedience is swiftly met with punishment. Recreational time is almost non-existent. Some modules allow inmates a brief session of physical exercise, jumping jacks, squats, or push-ups in a cordoned-off area. Others host short religious services, with a rotating group of volunteer preachers venturing into this forbidding environment. Regardless of these small breaks, the majority of an inmate's day is spent on their metal bunk or the concrete floor, trapped in a cell that feels more like a human warehouse than a correctional facility. With no yard time, no sunlight, and no contact visits, a person can go for years without seeing the sky or feeling a fresh breeze on their face. Meals punctuate the monotony. Beans and rice for breakfast, pasta and rice for lunch, and a similarly carb-heavy dinner. There is little variation, and any appetite is overshadowed by the mental strain of captivity. Guards, wary of hidden contraband, conduct random searches. Prisoners quickly learn there's no point in hoarding belongings. Each day resembles the last with a soul-crushing uniformity, which leads many inmates to count down months or years until their next court hearing, if they even get one. The strictest security protocols on Earth. The security apparatus at CECOT is designed to be airtight. Armed guards patrol the perimeter, backed by over 600 soldiers assigned exclusively to keep watch outside the prison walls. Inside, foot-thick barriers separate modules. Each module has multiple concrete walls and barbed wire fences, creating layers of containment that make escape virtually impossible. If, by some impossible means, a prisoner managed to break out of his cell, the next barrier awaits just a few steps away, and then another, and another. Sensors embedded beneath the gravel walkways can detect any unauthorized movement. Military-grade scanners at checkpoints can reveal hidden weapons, metal objects, or contraband. Prison officials say that the walls go so deep underground that tunneling out would be an engineering feat beyond the scope of these inmates. In case of a power outage, Backup systems can sustain prison operations for up to a week, ensuring that no door or camera goes offline. On top of this physical fortress, technology plays a critical role. A digital control center receives constant feeds from hundreds of cameras. Guards can zoom in to see an inmate's face, track odd movements, or even monitor the posture of prisoners as they shuffle through corridors. Should any disturbance occur, whether a fight or an attempted riot, armed response teams can be deployed in minutes, flooding a cell block with overwhelming force. Thus far, there have been no successful escape attempts, and major riots are said to be non-existent. Fear, many argue, is the prison's most effective weapon. Faces behind bars. Behind the fortress-like walls of CECOT are human beings, albeit ones labeled as society's most dangerous. Tattoos dominate their arms, backs, and faces. MS-13 insignias, spiderweb patterns, demonic imagery, and numbers like 13, 18, or 666. Each marking tells a story of loyalty, violence, and lost opportunity. Gang members who were once sworn enemies on the streets, like members of MS-13 and Barrio 18, now find themselves cramped into the same cells, forced into cohabitation by the unyielding bars. Occasionally, select media crews or government-approved documentarians are allowed short, highly supervised interviews with the inmates. These interviews are typically quick and heavily guarded. One such encounter might involve a gang leader who goes by the name Psycho, an individual who joined a criminal outfit as a teenager and rose through the ranks by committing unimaginable acts of violence. Asked if he regrets what he's done, Psycho might offer a hollow stare, somewhere between anger and resignation. He speaks of his childhood with no father, an absent mother, and streets that felt like his only family. Now, in his 40s, he wrestles with memories of the people he's hurt and the family members he will never see again. For every psycho, there are also quieter inmates who claim they were swept up by police in a case of mistaken identity. They speak softly of how they have no criminal records, no tattoos, yet ended up behind these walls after an unfounded tip from an informant. While many detainees have a history of crime, there is a lingering question: how many innocents are paying the same price as the truly guilty? What do you think about El Salvador's mega prison? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating content.